Hello everyone, welcome to this JMeter tutorial. In this tutorial, we will learn about the aggregate report in the JMeter, so let's begin. In our previous session, we have learned about a particular listener called view results in table. In this section, we would be learning about another listener called aggregate graph. Okay, in order to learn that, just go to the file, click open. I have already created a test for this one, okay, with the name of aggregate graph here. I am opening this script here, okay. So in order to understand this script, before that, just understand the scenario which I automated here. Okay. So the scenario was very simple here. I was going to this particular application which is called as DemoBlaze.com, and then I was clicking on the phone category. Okay. So what it means? So let's open the browser to understand. So this is DemoBlaze.com website. So I was hitting this website and then I was clicking on this phone category. So you might have a real-time scenario where you want to identify the performance of this particular scenario, that how much time users are taking from coming to the application and browsing a particular category. So this is a simple scenario which we have mapped here in the JMeter. Now just go back to the JMeter. Okay, so here don't get confused with this HTTP header manager user defined variables, because I have generated this using the Blaze meter extension. So if you don't have understanding of Blaze meter extension, you can watch my video on this one. Okay, so right now just focus on this area. We have this thread group. Okay, under this thread group we have a controller. Okay, this is a transaction controller. We haven't learned about the controller, but don't worry about that, we would be learning in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so here we have two requests. The first request is basically hitting on the application, and the second is basically clicking or browsing the phone category. So these are the two transactions. Furthermore, what I did here is that I have renamed these two requests so that we can easily identify what these requests are doing. Besides that, we have also renamed this controller. Now what this controller is actually doing here is that it will also provide us the results of the complete transaction. So our complete transaction is basically from hitting the application till opening the particular category, right? Again, this is a slightly overview for this particular tutorial. We will be learning the controllers in detail in our upcoming sessions. Now just let's add this aggregate graph. For that, just right click on thread group, over on the add, then go to the listener, and here you will find aggregate graph. Just click on this one. Okay, so this is a first look which might looks complicated to you, but don't worry, we will understand this graph. Okay, so basically this aggregate graph is pretty much similar to the aggregate report which we learned. So you will find all the values we already learned in the aggregate report. Okay, so this particular aggregate graph give you an additional feature to have the values in the form of the graph. So this is the main purpose of having this aggregate graph. So now we have a multiple options here. Again, we can name this graph. Okay, then we can put a comments, we can read and write to the file using the different configurations. And then we have these settings here for the graph. Now let's discuss about this column settings. So whatever we need in the graph, okay, for example, we need average time, we need median, we need 90% or 99% or 95%, whatever we need, we have to select from here. Okay, so for example, if we need average, 90% and 99%. Okay, so if I click on this graph, it will display these values. Right now it will not display because we haven't executed the test and we don't have any data here. So if I click on this one, it will say no values to the graph. Okay, so now just run this one here and let's see how the graph will be populated. Okay, so the test got executed successfully and we have data now. Now click on the graph and you can see that we have a graph now here. Okay, so on this side we have time in milliseconds. Okay, and on this side we have the name of these request and this transaction as well. Okay, here it displays a very beautiful graph so that we can share it with our management or the client or maybe the stakeholders. Okay, now let's formulate or customize this graph to look more appropriate. Okay, for example, now you have to change the color of any column here. For example, you want to change the color of average, just click on this one and change color to, let's suppose, to green or red. Okay, I'm selecting this green here and click on this one. So it's selected as a black. Yeah, so this one, and yeah, this one. Okay, click on this one and now save this one. Okay, clear the results here and run this test again. Now you will see that your average bar would be in this particular green color. Okay, just go and click on graph here and here. Okay, then we have more options here. Okay, if you want to change the font size and type, you can do that. Also, if you don't want to draw outline, okay, so you can do that. You have similar options here. Okay, right now if you go here, you see that there's a border line against each bar. Okay, now if we don't want that bar, just uncheck this one. Okay, clear the results and run this again and see the difference. Okay, our script got executed. Go to the graph and here now you can see that we don't have any bars here. Okay, then we have this option called column label selection. Okay, for example, if you want to have a report for a particular transaction or request, you can filter that data. Okay, tomorrow if your manager is asking for a graph which represents the total time taken from hitting to browsing the category, okay, so you need to define or populate the data for this particular browse category. Okay, now how we can do that? For that you need to check this one, then dot steric. Okay, and then name of this transaction, because this transaction have both request and we need the complete time. Copy this one and paste it here, then again static, then dot. Okay, and click apply. Okay, now clear the results and run this test again, and here you will see that this graph or the data you will get only about this particular transaction because it got filtered, and similarly it will also be displayed in the graph. Now click on the graph and you can see that now we have a browse category only here and it tells us the time of whole transaction. Okay, now go back to the settings here and then we have the title of the graph. Okay, right now it says aggregate graph, but again our management might not be able to understand this one. Okay, so go here, give it a proper name. For example, browse category performance. Okay, so you have given it this particular name. Again, you can format this title with the font type, size and style. Okay, I'm clearing the results here, running it again, and let's see what happens now. Okay, now just go back to the graph here, and here you can see now we have a proper title which we have defined in the settings, browser category performance. Okay, this one, right? Then we have some more options here. I prefer that you should go with this dynamic graph size, but still if you have some particular request from the client or maybe the stakeholders, okay, then you can define the height and the width of this particular graph. Okay, then we have this legend column here. Now what is this legend here? Okay, so legend is nothing but this one, like it identifies or helps us to understand about this graph. So wherever you want it and how you want it, you can define it here. Okay, for example, right now it's in the bottom. I'm changing it to the right or the left. Okay, and let's change the font and size and save this one and clear the results and run this test again. Okay, so once this test will be executed, we will go to the graph section here, and right now you can see that now size is a bit increased for the legends. Okay, and also the position of the legend has been changed from bottom to left side. Then after executing and customizing the graph as per your requirement, then obviously you need to send this graph to your management or to the manager maybe the client or the stakeholders, right? So that for this purpose, just click on this save graph button, and now you can save this graph in the JPEG format. Okay, so I am saving this on my desktop. Okay, you can name it properly. Yeah, I'm on the desktop, and you can name this graph properly, like browse category performance, okay, or anything which is more relevant. Okay, and click on save. Now let me go to the desktop here, and on the desktop we got this graph here. Now you can open this one, and you will see that we have the same graph which we have populated in the JMeter. Okay, it might take some time to load here. Meanwhile, we can look some more options. You can also save the data in the table. Click on this one, and you can save in the CSV. We have already learned that how we can save this data into a table. Okay, so these all are options available here in order to populate the perfect graph for your management. Okay, and one thing to remember here is that if you are running a proper performance test, maybe on thousands of users, in that particular case you won't be populating this graph here, because populating a graph here in the JMeter will consume a lot of memory. Okay, but for the short performance like 50 users, 100 users, can be manageable here in the JMeter. Okay, so just make sure that if you're running on the higher number of the users, just avoid using this graph here. Okay, now this graph is open here, and you can see. Now if you want to email that one, you can email. If you want to update your some documentation against the performance, you can attach this image for the reference. Okay, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. We hope that you have learned something today. If you like our content, then do subscribe our channel, like, share and comment. And once again, thank you so much, and see you in the next lecture.